All right, thank you everyone. Welcome. If you're watching us on demand, we're excited about that. We're here to talk about what's new in policy and compliance and audit management. We just had a store release earlier this month, which was really exciting. Lots of great stuff there. I'm very happy to be joined by Anushri, our product manager for policy compliance audit, and she's also product manager for our continuous authorization and monitoring product. So let's get into what we're going to talk about today. A couple housekeeping first. It'll be automatically placed on mute. We do want you to use the Q&A feature. We want this to be interactive. The session is going to be recorded. You can catch it on demand, or you can use our Live on ServiceNow playlist, and we'll have information in the chat on that. When the session ends, you may be prompted to fill out a short survey. So there's been a lot of stuff happening. Last week, we hosted a What's New for Business Continuity Management. You can find that on demand now. A couple days ago, we had a jam-packed hour for IT and operational risk management. There was lots of exciting stuff there that we showed, and there's more coming in more releases, obviously. Policy and compliance is today. The DevOps integration we will not be talking about today or showing today. We do have a webinar set just for that, but initially we'll be going through the other new features. And then operational resilience is next week. So hopefully you found the registration page, you have registered for all the webinars out. If not, please mark your calendar for the August 23rd webinar. Operational resilience is one of our main features in Tokyo that we'll be talking a lot about. Vendor risk management is also next week. And then we round out our webinar series with the DevOps Accelerator on September 13th. This is an integration between DevOps Config and policy and compliance management in our IRM applications. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Anushri, who's going to talk a little bit about the features and actually going to show you them in action, which is the really exciting stuff.
Today, I will be taking you through the IT Compliance Workspace, which is a new feature that we released in our store release. The workspace provides the reimagined user experience and the persona-based workspace for IT Compliance Manager. As part of the workspace, the IT Compliance Manager has the dedicated homepage where they can view the IT compliance posture as well as perform various tasks assigned to them. There's a unified task page where they will see, they can see everything that is assigned to them, assigned to their team, and things that they need to watch. There's also issues landing page, which provides the overview of all the IT related issues that the IT compliance manager need to follow up on or remediate. Each record has an overview page, which provides the summary of that record. The list menu provides the list of modules, which shows the data which is relevant to the IT compliance manager. We have added a functional domain tagging functionality where IT compliance manager, admins can actually tag various records as IT compliance and risk. And when they are tagged as IT compliance and risk, those records or those particular reports will be shown on the IT compliance manager workspace. With that, let's get into the demo. I've logged in as an IT compliance manager, and this is my IT compliance workspace. When I come to the IT compliance workspace, I can see the overview section here at the top, which provides me overview of all the different authority documents, which are nothing but regulations, standards, frameworks, which I need to review. And it provides an overview of the percentage compliance of all the regulations over time, the trend chart around of the regulation, how they are trending on the compliance score over time. You can also see specific high priority issues or high risk exceptions against these regulations or standards, and the compliance score percentage calculated for them. All the standards regulation that you see here are tagged as IT compliance and risk. So it only shows me the standards regulations that are relevant for me as an IT compliance manager. The policy here again are tagged as IT compliance and risk. So I can only see the IT compliance or IT risk policies here. And I can also see the compliance score trend of the policy over a certain period. Lastly, I see a number of entities that are tagged as IT risk and compliance as well. These are mostly the CMDB CIs or the entities related to CMDB CIs, which could be business application, business services, even vendor table can be tagged as IT risk and compliance. The percentage score here shows the percentage of compliance score over a period of time. So it's a trend chart here. On the entities report here, you can also see the high priority issue as well as risk rating if there is any associated with the entities. The next section shows the control effectiveness of the IT compliance and risk controls. The first report is around the control testing. So it shows all the open control tests. If there are any overdue control tests, they are shown here. And you can also see failures in the last 6 months. So this is a trend chart of the failures. The second chart shows the indicators, which is used for continuous monitoring of the controls. There are 32 active indicators, 0 overdue indicator tasks, but 32 of them are unassigned. So I can quickly understand what I need to do as an IT compliance manager and go ahead and assign them out. I can also see failures in the last 6 months. So this is a trend chart of indicator failures of the last 6 months. The last report is on the attestation. So any open attestations that are in the system, any one of them which are overdue would show up here. And again, the trend chart of failures in the last 6 months. We also see the summary of all the different issues that are related to IT controls. You can see there are 150 open issues, 3 of them are overdue, 2 of them are accepted issues, 3 of them have policy exceptions or exceptions against them, and 3 of the exceptions that are created are also expired. So I can quickly go to these issues and see what's going on. I can also go to the issues overview page from here when I click into it. I'll get to it in a bit. And the last section is a tracking section where you can track all the different audit engagements that are going on different IT entities or IT controls. There are 3 engagements here, and out of 3 engagements, there are 23 audit tasks which are overdue. There are no overdue milestones, so we don't see anything here. And the timeline chart here shows the upcoming audit engagements that I need to watch out for or I need to prepare for. The timeline also shows the milestone on top, which I need to track. And there is an exceptions report, which will show you policy exceptions against IT policies or IT controls. And it also shows there are 2 high risk exceptions. This trend chart shows the exceptions which are requested versus approved and the ones that are extended. So you can see how many are requested, approved, or extended. Lastly, I can see the acknowledgement campaigns, which are the policy acknowledgement campaigns. There's 1 policy acknowledgement campaign that's going on, and there are 10 responses or 10 tasks that are signed out of which some of them are accepted, some of them have not been responded to yet, and some of them one of them is declined. So this is my home page, which provides me an overview of IT compliance posture. On the right-hand side, I can see a summary of all the different tasks that are pending or awaiting approval or something that is overdue. I can click into it and go to the task page directly. Apart from the home page, I do have the unified task landing page, which will take me to all the tasks that are assigned to me, anything that is assigned to my group, and the things or let's say in this case, engagements or control tests that I have created and I own. On the pending tasks, you can also see different filters here. If anything is in overdue state or in progress, I would be able to quickly filter them out and see it. So as an IT compliance manager, I would be able to see all the different tasks in one single page. This is the issues overview page. where I can see all the different issues in the system. I can, at this point, I can see everything which is non-IT too, but I can filter down this to the IT risk and compliance. When I do that, it only shows me the issues that are associated to either IT control or IT policy. So here I see the issues break down by state, by issue type, by issue rating or priority. I can also see overdue issues, aging chart by priority, by issue rating. So I can see if there are any issues that are overdue. I can see that there are 31 or there are issues that are overdue more than 30 days. If there is any issue triaging going on in the system, I would be able to see the issue triages as well by state, by issue type, by priority, and the issue triage aging by priority as well. The tracking section will show me the remediation tasks associated with these IT issues, any exceptions created on the issues, any evidence request tasks associated with the issues, and lastly, the performance of the issues. How many issues are open versus closed? On the right-hand side, I would be able to see all the issues that I'm managing, I'm reviewing, assigned to me, or maybe the remediation tasks that are assigned to me. Anything that is overdue, same for the issue triages. And I can also see my group's issue. So if I have any issues that do not have any owner or do not have any manager, I can assign them out. If anything is overdue, I can quickly go ahead and assign them out and see if they are resolved. Same for the triages. And lastly, I can see the issue triages or remediation tasks that I'm watching. I'm on the watch list. I can quickly come here and see it. Now, lastly, I see the list of different modules here. And in these modules, I would be able to see a filter condition which shows me the functional domain is IT risk and compliance, which means if I open one of the records here, let's say, let's open one of the policies here. If I go to policy form, I would be able to see that this policy is tagged as IT risk and compliance. You can see that there's a new functional domain field added to all the records, and you can choose the functional domain here. Whichever records are tagged as IT risk and compliance are the only ones which will start showing on all of these modules. So any controls that are tagged as IT risk and compliance, any entities that are tagged as IT risk and compliance, the policy acknowledgements that are created on IT policies or exceptions that are requested on IT controls and policies, audit engagements that are performed on IT related entities, and so on. So I can see everything which is filtered down to the data that I care about as an IT compliance manager. Now, how do you manage tagging of this data? We are providing you a mechanism to tag the data. So if you go ahead and tag base tables such as authority documents, policies, entity, etc., we're going to trickle down that tag to its child tables. So for example, if I go to entity table, and if one of my entity is tagged as IT risk and compliance, I'm going to automatically tag all the controls, issues, issue triages, observations, etc., that are associated with the entity. So this will help you with the tagging of the records. There is an initial one-time setup, but at the end, everything will be tagged automatically. So this is all I have for this feature. So for the policy exception, which is an existing feature, we have done a bunch of enhancements in this release. We have provided an ability to extend the policy exception multiple times, which wasn't possible before. This is based on multiple customer requests we've got. We also are allowing an ability to edit the extension reason while taking an extension or exception reason, which was non-editable before. So it's an optional field that the customer can edit if they want to change a reason for extension, or otherwise also if they want to change the reason for the exception.
The third feature that we've added is the detailed risk assessment. So ability to perform detailed risk assessment on an exception using our advanced risk assessment feature. So the user would be able to perform detailed risk assessment and populate the risk rating based on the assessment. We've also done some other enhancements, such as while requesting an exception from service portal or employee center, if you've set up a verification rule, this wasn't applicable for the exceptions which were created from service portal or employee center. It was only applicable for the exceptions which were created from upstream applications like vulnerability response, incident management before. So we've opened it up so that if you have set up a verification rule and if you request an exception from service portal or employee central, it would go through the verification approvals as well. So that's the enhancement that we've done. Another enhancement that we've done is we are marking the policy exceptions which are approved and expired as expired. So previously we only had closed state. We didn't have an expired substate for the approvals which were actually expired. So we've added that so it becomes easy for reporting and customers can identify which are the expired exception versus the ones that are just closed out. And lastly, we are also allowing a requester to withdraw or cancel the request when they requested exception, even before it is approved. So if they don't want it anymore, they can go ahead and cancel the request. So that's the additional feature that we've added. How does this feature work? So this feature is enabled when you install GRC Compliance Management Workspace. When you install that, it automatically installs the Policy and Compliance Management plugin as well. And if you have the Advanced Risk Assessment plugin installed, then you can use the risk assessment feature that we have enabled. So with that, let's get into the live demo. So I have a compliance workspace here. I've logged in as the compliance manager. I've already created a policy exception as a requester. So I'm going to go into list of my tasks and let's go into my group's tasks. And under policy exception, I can see an exception for implementing change. So this is an exception that was requested by Able Tutor. Let's look at the details here. Which has the awaiting maintenance window as reason. And this field is editable. You can edit and change it. Let me go ahead and assign myself as the approver and save it. Now, while approving the exception, you have different ways of approving this. You can perform the risk assessment on exception and only then you can approve it. So currently, previously we only had risk rating, so you could choose only one of the risk rating from the dropdown. But now we are allowing you to select either risk rating or you can select another method such as take risk assessment. When I click on take risk assessment, this risk rating field is now non-editable. So let me go ahead and save it. Once I save it, it is going to enable this assess risk button on top. So if I click on that, it's going to create a risk assessment for me. So I'm going to go ahead and click on assess risk. And I have myself as the risk assessor, but I can choose anyone from the compliance team as well as from the risk team with the risk user or compliance user role as risk assessor. You need to provide certain risk assessment roles as well for anyone to take the assessment. So that has to be done as part of the setup. So let me go ahead and send the risk assessment. Once I send the risk assessment, a risk assessment is created under this particular related list. Let me go to the risk assessment and I'm going to start the assessment. Let me go ahead and save this. And once I have it saved, I see that the risk rating is calculated as medium. I'm going to go ahead, review and submit. So once it's reviewed and submitted, under policy exception, you can see that it's been assigned the risk rating of medium. And if I go to my form, I will also see that there will be a risk rating that is populated here. Oh, let me go ahead and request approval and also submit it. Once it's approved, it's going to now assign the risk rating to my policy exception. All right. Now I can see that the risk rating has been assigned to policy exception. This is being copied from my risk assessment. Now this risk rating is mapped. So the risk rating coming from the risk assessment is mapped with the drop-down values of the risk rating. Here we have a mapping table with this risk rating when populated. In case the compliance manager needs to override this risk rating, they can always click on override and choose a different risk rating if they want to. If they don't want to, they can just go with this risk rating. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and keep this risk rating. And once this risk rating is available, I can see that I can approve this policy exception. I can also request an additional approval if I want to, or send it for a review. But I'm going to go ahead and approve this policy exception for now. Right, let me go ahead and also associate impacted controls. Once it's done, then I can approve the policy exception. So the policy exception is now in approved state. Now let's look at the second enhancement that I've done on the multiple extensions. So I'm going to go ahead and log in as able tutor, who's a requester of the policy exception. And this is an employee portal that we are looking at. Let's go to my request and look at the approved policy exception that we have here. So this approved policy exception has all the details, and it also has some actions here. And you can see it has request extension UI action here. Once I click on it, it's going to give me some information about the extension. It is telling me that you're valid from valid to dates. It is also telling me that I have remaining extension, which is 1. The reason why it is showing me that we have a property which can be which you can set up to say how many extensions are possible. If you have like 5 extensions that are possible, it's going to give me number 4, that there are 4 extensions or 1 extension, 5 extensions that are remaining because I've not even asked for any. If there is only 1 extension which is possible, it will show me that there's only 1 extension which is remaining. In this case, the property is set up as 1 extension. That's why it is only showing me 1. But you can have multiple extensions set up in the property. I'm going to go ahead and provide justification. And in this case, I can see that the extension reason is populated based on the previous extension reason, but I can go ahead and change it as well if I want to. Let's go ahead and change it. And let me request the extension. Let me also change the extension date to a week and request it. Once it's requested, then you can see that the substate is under review. I'm going to log in back as Carrie, who is our approver. Now under my task, I can see that there is a policy exception, which is awaiting my approval again. So I can go into the details here and see what is the extension date. If I want to change that date for some reason, I can do that here. I can also see the extension reason, which is different from the original reason. If I want to change that, I can do that as well. So once that's all the information is available, I have the risk rating from the previous one, I can go ahead and approve the extension, or I can reject the extension. I'm good with all the details here, so I'm going to go ahead and approve the extension. You will also notice that I have approved extension as 0 here, but the remaining extension is 1. Once I approve the extension, it's going to give me an approved extension as 1. So every time an extension is requested, you will be able to see how many extensions are requested. So as an approver, I would have an information before I approve the next extension. If I have too many extensions that are asked and approved, I could ask questions to the requester on why so many extensions are needed and why if they're already approved. So I'm going to go ahead and approve this extension now. Once I approve the extension, the approved extension becomes 1 now, and remaining extension is 0 because I've set up only one extension possible in the property. And you can also notice that my extension date has been copied over to my valid to date, and my extension reason is copied over to my reason. So this is what happens when you approve the extension. Now, this extension, we've already looked at multiple extension and requesting or performing the detailed risk assessment. Now, the third enhancement that we did was changing the substate to expired when an approved extension or exception actually expires. So I could either wait for this date to appear and this particular policy exception would be automatically closed out or expired. But since it's a week or two away, I can't show the automated approval exception closure. So I'm going to go ahead and close this extension instead. So when I close this extension, since because it is approved, it will be closed as expired. So I'm going to go ahead and close this exception as the approver. When I close the exception, you can see now that the state is closed, but the substate is changed to expired. So in this case, anyone who comes and looks at the list of policy exception, they would be able to report easily on the ones that have been expired. All right, so that's my third enhancement. Now we'll look into a couple more enhancements here. So I'm going to log in back as admin, and I'm going to set up a verification rule. And I'm not choosing any source application here. So let me go ahead and save this verification rule. If I don't choose any source application, which means this exception is not created from any upstream application, it can be created from Service Portal or Employee Center. Let's choose one of the users here and submit it. Let me go ahead and now impersonate as able tutor. Let's go to Employee Center. And request a policy exception. I can choose one of the impacted controls here. And let's choose a reason. Let's go ahead and submit it. Now, when I submit from here, let me go back to let me impersonate as so when I submit the policy exception from the Employee Center and we've set up the verification rule, we can see now if I log in as Max Jason, I can see that there should be an exception which is created, and it is a new state and not analyzed state, which is ready for verification. So let me go ahead and look for Yeah, this is the one that we've created. So I'm going to go ahead and open this. And you can see that this particular policy exception is still in new state, and there's a verification approval created for Mac. So I can go ahead and approve it. As soon as I approve it, it'll move to the analyze state. So this is now enabled for any exceptions which are even created simply from policy, service portal or employee center. I'm going to go ahead and approve this. Once I approve it, this particular exception will move on to the new state. Let me also choose an approver here. So as soon as we approve the verification approval, the policy exception will move to the analyze state. That is one more enhancement that we've done. Now let me show another enhancement that we've done. Let me impersonate as able tutor here. And go to list of requests. Let's open up this policy exception. Now this policy exception is in analyze state. It hasn't been approved yet. So, and if I look at the actions, it gives me cancel request action, which means I can cancel the policy exception request before it's approved. In case I don't need it anymore, if something changes, I can go ahead and cancel the request. So when I cancel the request, the state of the request will be closed and the substate will be canceled. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel it. This is one of the use case that we've heard from customers, as well as the other products from ServiceNow. When we are doing some integration with, let's say, DevOps configuration, there's a use case that developers want to cancel or withdraw the policy exception. They were not able to do that before. So we've done this enhancement and now you can cancel it out. So let me go ahead and cancel it. Once I cancel it, the state will be closed and the substate is canceled. So evidence request, as I mentioned, is an existing feature which allows an audit manager, a compliance manager to request an evidence when they're performing, let's say, before performing control testing in an audit, or as a compliance manager, you will be able to request an evidence for a given control, for a given issue, entities, from your business user, which is who is part of the first line user group. Now, currently, evidence request will allow you to request new evidence for a given control, for a control test, even if that evidence was already collected maybe in last quarter for the same control. With this new enhancement that we are doing, there are a few improvements that we have done. We are providing an ability to reuse already existing collected evidence that was closed. So if you have collected an evidence for a given control in the last quarter during your audit engagement, you would be able to reuse that evidence by adding it to the new audit engagement that you are working on currently. Another nice thing that we've added is we provide a prompt user with the information on an existing evidence that might have already been collected for a given control, for a given issue, entity, etc. So they can quickly go to it and can reuse it. They can also request an evidence for any type of record. We had some restriction around this based on the type of audit you're performing. If it is audit team who is requesting an evidence versus compliance team who's requesting an evidence, we had restricted the tables that you could request an evidence for. But now we've opened it up. So as an audit manager, you'll be able to request an evidence for your controls, control test, your engagements, and not only that, but also for a policy, authority, document, citation, etc. And same for the compliance manager. So they would be able to request an evidence on any of the policy, compliance, and audit tables. We've done some minor enhancement. We are copying the name of the evidence request task from the evidence collection detail form. Previously, it was copied over from the evidence request, which is a parent table. Since evidence collection detail is a table from where the evidence task is actually generated, it makes sense to copy the name from there. So they made that small change. We are copying the description of the evidence request task from the evidence request, because that description field is on the evidence request where the user would be providing some description of the evidence request. So these are a few of the things that we are doing. And we're also allowing to copy
evidence from the previous evidence request into the new evidence request, and things like that. How does this feature work? Once you install the compliance management workspace, you would be able to request an evidence on any of the compliance and audit forms. It installs the policy and compliance management plugin automatically, but you need to install advanced core application or plugin for the evidence request feature to work. So if you're using just the compliance management workspace, you need to install advanced core, and it'll automatically install the compliance management workspace will install policy and compliance plugin. If you're using Audit Workspace and you want to request evidence as an audit manager, you can install Audit Management Workspace, which will automatically install Audit Management plugin. You need to install Advanced Core application or Advanced Audit application for the evidence request to work. So this will allow you to enable this feature. So let's get into the live demo. Let's look at an engagement here. I'm on the compliance workspace here, logged in as an IT compliance manager. I am performing the SOX audit 2022. And I have a list of entities that I've scoped in, controls that are associated with the entity. And I have 2 evidence requests tasks that are closed out here and collected. Now, let me go ahead and try to request an evidence for one of the controls. So I am trying to request an evidence for this control. I'll select it. And once I click on request evidence, this is a pop-up which already exists today. But you can now see that there is a prompt or alert on top, which says there is an existing evidence that may be relevant for your selection. So I can click on view and it will open up the list of evidence that is associated with the selection I made. So I can see that there is an evidence collected for this particular control. If I want to reuse, I can see the details here. It was closed. It was assigned to able tutor. The due date was July 29, and so on. So if I want to get into more detail, I can do that. And I can go ahead and reuse this evidence if I want to. Now, how do I reuse the evidence? So if I go under evidence related list, previously I could just create new evidence requests. But now I also see a new UI action, which is add existing evidence. So if I click on it, it will give me a list of evidence that has been collected and closed out in the past. So I can see there are different types of evidence collected for different controls here. I can see the request reason, why it was requested, what was the due date, what was the close date, right? When was it closed? And what was the instruction, what was the evidence requested for, and who the requester was. So once I have all these details, I can decide whether I want to reuse this already collected evidence or I want to create a new one. So if let's say I want to reuse this one here, I'm just going to go ahead and add it. Once I add it, this evidence is now associated with my current engagement as well. So if I go to the evidence, you would be able to see that evidence for is for the new engagement as well. But if I go into detail, the evidence for originally was requested for the manage changes control, right? But now it is also associated with the engagement. So you would be able to see that M2M relationship of the evidence with the engagement. That is a new change that we did. This is a new related list that we've added where you can see the associated multiple records for which shares basically this evidence. Now, if I go back and if you want to remove this evidence from the engagement, you could do that. I would try to remove 2 of the evidences here. Once I do that, it will give me some message here. So it is telling me that confirm you want to remove these evidence items, and it says that the following will be removed but not deleted from this engagement. So it is just giving you instruction that this particular evidence will be removed. It won't be deleted when you remove it. And the second option or the second message says the following cannot be removed because they were created from this engagement. The first one was the one that we just added from another engagement or another control. That is the one, since we added it, can be removed from engagement. But the other evidence request that I see on this engagement is created from this engagement or requested from this engagement itself. So I can't remove it. If you want, you can always go ahead and delete it as a requester or as an admin. But this removal capability will be available for the ones that are just linked to this engagement and not really created from here. Now we'll be able to see the third use case, which is ability to associate evidence from another request. So if I go here, let me actually go to list of requests. And let's see if I have one of the evidence requests here. I will open it up and I can see that there is already an evidence associated with it. And I also see a button on top. So I can go ahead and add existing evidence from some other evidence request into this evidence request. So I can go ahead and add it. And once I do that, it will be available for the user. So you can reuse the evidence from some other evidence request as well. We can also see a new evidence request. Let's go to list of engagements again. So this is my evidence request. If I'm creating a new evidence request here, let's go ahead and create a new one. When I'm creating a new request, you can see the type field that you have here was locked down or read only before. So if I click on that, it now shows me audit and compliance type. So you can always go ahead and choose any of them. So this particular type is editable for me. So these are all the enhancements that we've done on evidence request.
Awesome demos. I hope you're as excited about it as I am. I want you to connect with us. Please, visit us on our ServiceNow.com risk. Please join us on the community. And again, please watch us live on demand, and you can use this QR code to get to the on-demand portion of the community. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Anushri, for presenting. Really appreciate it. And please tune in next week for some more of our What's New webinars.